Okay, so I'm sitting in my car. My car's turned off. My kids went to go get some vegan Italian ice, and I finished watching the rest of today's testimony, and I watched on Law and Crime so that there was no commentary from Emily D. Baker. And I kind of came to my own thought about it. Like, I realize I could be wrong, but I think, let me see if I can move it over like that a little bit. I have a sense that these chats, specifically the two I watched today, Emily D. Baker's, I only watched it for like a couple minutes because I literally just wanted to pop in and say Karen Reed is guilty in my opinion, and not everybody thinks she's innocent. Just to be a one voice who's willing to say that. And that's what I was saying. I don't know if I finished with that point, that I feel like the chat becomes an echo chamber because Emily keeps making these comments, which makes it clearly obvious that she's biased in Karen's favor. And then so the chat picks up on that, and then they kind of let me actually, oh, the kids are coming back. I'll have to get back to this. So I'm home now. I was just watching some of Peter Tragos, the lawyer, and he was going over what he thought about the testimony, and I found that his chat is also very pro-Karen. There were a few people in there who, I did see a decent amount of people in there who were believing that Karen did hit him, and also were like questioning, why is everybody saying Jen is a liar? What would her motivation be to lie? She looks like a woman who is traumatized that her friend died, and she literally found his dead body on the lawn that morning and has been dealing with this all this time. So it was January 2022. So it's 3 years and 3 months. And she, Jen McCabe, has been being accused by people of being a liar, a conspiracy theorist, a murderer. And she's not on trial. She's not the one accused of murder. She's not the one who did this. And I find it really, really gross, to be honest. And as much as I love Peter, the fact that he's also similar to Emily, like inflaming his chat and saying things that are just like, so this is what I was trying to say when I was in the car, that what really hit me, and just watching that for a few minutes really made me feel more sure about it. I'm not convinced that these very biased chats are representative of the average person. And maybe 80% of that jury is like, oh, Karen is so innocent and they're all lying. But I just don't see how that could possibly be true. I think that the only people who are like scrutinizing every word and every look and everything, like all of the prosecution witnesses are lying, are people who already drank the Kool-Aid. And people, like, if you're watching Emily D. Baker and you just like go with whatever she says, then yeah, you're going to think Karen is innocent because Emily's being very biased. And just like I've said about myself, I was a voice of opposition to this pro-Karen narrative in the chat. But when you see that people who are pro-Karen are so vicious, if and then they just keep repeating the same stuff. Like, the ARCA witnesses said it was impossible that he was hit by a car. But that's not what they said. So they're basing what they believe is the truth on a falsity. So it's like, okay, they're accusing, they think Jen McCabe Googled how's long to die in snow at 2:27, even though multiple expert witnesses have shown that was just a glitch in the way that the browser tab was open and she had been searching on it, and then when she started searching on it, it was just the way that it was just like a data marker, and that in fact she had Googled that at 6 something in the morning, so it's like you see these two tags. When you put everything into the context of everything that happened that night, to me, it just makes perfect sense that at 2 something in the morning, she was Googling something about her daughter's basketball game or whatever kind of game it was. And then when she was texting or, Googling how's long to die in snow, it was obviously when she was standing there or, like saw the man in the snow. And she said Karen asked her to Google it. So, yeah, she could be lying. She could have made the whole thing up. But it's like people are like, oh my God, like, how did she not, like, immediately run into the house when she found this dead body? She didn't, like, run into her sister's house? Like, what are you talking about? They pulled up. Karen runs out. She sees John. She's screaming. She jumps on him. She's lifting her shirt. She's lifting his shirt. Carrie gets out. Jen gets out. They go over, and Jen testified that she's looking down at this dead body and she's just like in total shock, and she's calling 911, and she's like, there's a man in the snow. Like, she can't believe it. And it's not because she fucking murdered him or she's covering up for somebody else murdering him. It's because she's shocked. So she's calling 911, and then within moments 911 is there. When is she supposed to be running into the house and being like, oh my God? Like, what are people talking about? This is what I'm saying. This is why today it really hit me. Those chats are incredibly biased, but I'm just not convinced that that's a genuine representation of the average person, because it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. The only people who it makes sense to me are viewing this as if Karen is that was the truth, as if Jen is a liar and Carrie is a liar, and like, all these people are lying, and Karen is the only one in a sea of liars that's telling the truth, even though the cell phone data proved that his phone got colder and colder and colder until the moment that they found him at 6 something, and Carrie picked it up into her warm, living hand and put it in her pocket, and it started getting warm again. But from at 12:30 or whatever the exact moment was, 12:31, when his phone got outside of Karen's car and the temperature started to drop steadily throughout the rest of the evening, and it never warmed up again, not for one moment, which would have shown that he could have gone into that house. So in order to believe that Karen is innocent and that he was killed by people in the house, you have to believe not only that she dropped him off at a certain spot and he went into the house, got beaten to death, killed, and was dragged back to the same exact spot, but he also miraculously dropped his phone right there where she dropped him off. The phone stayed outside, I guess, all night, and he went inside, got killed, and then they dropped him right on top of his phone. But that doesn't make sense, because the guy, Whiffen, the expert who tested a phone, he put a phone in the freezer. And then he also looked and he compared the rate of that thing getting cold to the rate that John's got cold. And it seemed like the fact that they knew John was laying on top of the phone because they found it under him. So at some point he fell on top of his phone. And what makes sense to me, with the science that makes sense to me, is that he was alive when he fell on top of that phone, alive long enough to keep that phone at 60 degrees. It dropped from the 70 something it was at in the car down to 60 something because it was in between a frozen ground and a dying man. That's what makes sense to me. Those are my thoughts about today. I really think these chats are so biased because of the host And that, you know, the people who are like obsessively watching this are probably already got their mind made up, most of them. Those are my Peaches, how are you? Happy hump day. So I'm just popping in to do a quick update. I'm watching the Karen Reed trial today, and I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I knew I was in a minority position in thinking that Karen was guilty, but it's way, 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 way more, at least in the couple of chats that I've been watching. I decided not to watch Emily D. Baker today because, like I said, I feel that all of her little comments, her negative comments, have hugely created an echo chamber. Like, for example, I'm not there. I popped in today just to drop a couple of comments like Karen is guilty in my opinion, and then I actually did just drop a little comment like, it's so hard to watch because the chat is so unhinged and I just don't get it, and it's very distracting. So, and then I left because I'm like, I don't even fucking care. I'm not trying to wait around for nobody to comment back about, oh my god, you're so fucking... I did see some people who think Karen is guilty. So what was really interesting to me was that, so I just spent like probably a couple hours watching the beginning of the day, and they're at lunch right now. So, you know, I'm somebody who thinks that Karen is more likely than not guilty, although I'm still open. I'm still listening. I was listening to Jen McCabe's testimony. She seems like an honest person. And then in the chat, it's like, she's such a liar. Bev is the worst. Oh, get rid of her. Throw her in jail. Jen is lying. Jen is lying. She's covering up. And I'm like, but why? Like, I see that the people are unhinged, and of course there's people putting down her looks and insulting her and talking about her teeth, talking about her hair, talking about her her tan. Like, it's so low IQ. It's isn't that one of Trump's terms? Low IQ individual. But oh my god, I'm like, all the people who are commenting about Karen being guilty, they genuinely seem to be like, they're just mentioning facts. They're pointing out to me what's obvious. They are saying like things like I'm saying, well, nobody saw him go into the house. His cell phone data proved that, well, while it showed that there was a bigger circle that could have maybe kind of went into the house, the temperature data showed his phone definitely did not go into the house. And, you know, I looked into how far was the drive from 34 Fairview to One Meadows and in Canton. I think it's 35 Fairview Road and One Meadows, I don't know if it's street or place, but it's like a 6-minute drive. 6 minutes driving normally. So if you were driving a little bit fast, you could probably get there in less than 6 minutes. And so another thing that people were saying, and again, I don't know, I think people were saying she got back to John's house at 12:36, but John had been struck somewhere between 12:30 and 12:32, so that's like 4 minutes. But if she was gunning it and there's nobody on the road, could she have made it there in 4 minutes if she didn't stop at any stop signs and she was going fast? Yes, of course you can. It's not like it was half an hour away and we're like, oh, you know, she was nowhere near, you know, and if one thing is clocked a minute later or whatever, like, to me, it's totally believable. as far as what I know right now. But what I do also not understand, I do not like, I don't get it. I don't get why people are so insanely crazy over Karen Reed, and yet they have absolutely no problem disparaging, defaming, saying vile things about all of the all the evidence and all of the witnesses. They were talking bad about Paul, John's brother. They were talking bad about John's mom. They were talking bad about Karen, and they were talking bad about Kerry, and they were talking bad about Brian Higgins and Brian Albert and all of the cops and all of the EMT. And I'm just like, I do not understand this. I do not understand how all of these people, there was literally, it said 80% of the people in the law and crime were like, oh, Jen is not a credible witness. I'm like, what the fuck? I am so confused because what I'm listening to, what I'm watching is not matching up with the chat. And I could be wrong, but I really don't think so. I really don't think so. The first trial, I felt very like, the whole time I was kind of like, I feel like she probably hit him, but they are throwing a lot of reasonable doubt. But it's becoming more clear to me this time that they are not providing reasonable doubt through legitimate other possible, like how it could have happened, who else could have done it, why would they have done it, how would they have done it. So it's like people are literally like, they all beat him to death in the house, and then they dragged his bloody body out of the house, out onto the lawn, and then when Jen was outside with the cops, they were all in the house cleaning it up. Yeah, that's what somebody literally said in the comments. Like, what? You would make up an entire fabrication, fan fiction, like a whole fucking movie with zero evidence, not one shred of evidence of any of that. Oh, because they got their basement floor redone in one corner and they were selling the house, which they did sell the house, and the people are like, oh, that's sus. The couple of voices of reason and critical thinking that I saw in the chat were like, well, they were being harassed relentlessly by people in the neighborhood. And I thought I would move if my friend was murdered on my lawn. However that happened, he was dead on my front lawn, and every single day I have to like think about that. No, I would move. There's no way I would stay there. So whether it was because their friend died there and it was traumatic, or the neighborhood became, intolerable, or both, but oh no, they did it because they killed this man. Right. There was somebody who literally said they shot that dog that night. Like, you guys are making shit up out of nowhere. Insane. Like, these people are smoking something, and they're all up in this chat. And Emily D. Baker's chat is just as bad. And that's what I'm saying. I won't even go in the chat anymore. So that's how a chat becomes an echo chamber, because the few people who see it differently, who are not fucking drinking this Kool-Aid, this Karen Reed cult Kool-Aid, they get admonished, they get destroyed in the chat, you get called a troll, you get told to leave, and you get called names and stuff. And it's like, why would I want to stay there? Why would I want to watch something with someone who is inflaming the chat so skewed in such a bias? And it's like, how are you going to... These people are not even listening to the evidence, in my opinion. They're not even being objective in any way, because literally every single thing that any of these witnesses say, They are claiming it's a lie, it's fabricated, it's a cover-up. And I'm just like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. The only thing that makes sense is that Karen Reed hit him and she left him there to die, and then she blamed it on everybody else. And y'all fucking drinking the Kool-Aid. Well, I've got to get back to work. I have been a lot of it, kind of not working today because I've been watching the trial. But anyway, I just wanted to pop back in to add a little bit more to say that I am, for now, I mean, I'll probably catch Peter Tragos' recaps that he does. I really like Lawyer Lee, L-E-E, Lawyer Lee. I really like her. I find her to be extremely unbiased. I do think that Peter, you know, some of the things that bothers him, you know, he's a defense attorney. But anyway, the point I was going to say is that at this point, I'm just going to be watching it on like Law and Crime and not even paying attention to the comments, because the reason, well, so when I first started watching trials, I was like, it's so boring to listen to it without commentary. And I like how Emily D. Baker, she starts a little behind and then she has what she calls Zoom room, so she can fast forward. And that's kind of what I like to do as well. But I'm at the point now where I want to listen to the testimony of the witnesses, the questions from the lawyers, and without commentary, without getting too much into the comments, without listening to a lawyer say what they think is right or wrong, because it's kind of frustrating. Like, there have been a bunch of times listening to this so far where Emily makes a comment, and Emily D. Baker, and I'm just like, I totally disagree with what she's saying. She's being snarky. She's complaining about the witness when the witness is being perfectly fine, in my opinion. She's, you know, complaining about things that, and again, she's a lawyer, and so, you know, there are things that lawyers will look at, and things that really, really, really bother them, that a juror who's not a lawyer it's not even gonna faze them. And, you know, again, I do like to listen to their legal analysis more than like just listening to, you know, I don't know, somebody who's like gossiping or talking about, like, another thing they were saying in the comments was like, oh, this break is taking so long because they're all in the judge's chambers, and, you know, Karen is trying to get a deal, or they're all in the judge's chambers because somebody did something really bad. You know, it's just like, you guys are literally just making shit up. Like, straight up making shit up. They say any unhinged crap that has literally no basis in fact, no evidence. They've taken the defense's wild theories and then they've spun them into even more wild theories. It's like the defense is saying these insane off-the-wall conspiracy theories to try to, you know, create reasonable doubt and to make people believe that, you know, there's no way Karen could have done it because all these other people either did it or they had reasons to cover it up. And it's like, okay, but there's no evidence of that whatsoever. There's not one speck, not one shred of evidence that anyone did anything in that house. Nothing, not one little thing. And there's lots of evidence, in my opinion, that Karen did. That Karen was the one who somehow did something to him with her car that made him incapacitated with a cracked skull and he was dead. People are like, there's no injuries on his body. The motherfucker had a cracked skull, scratches on his arm, a bruise on his knee, 2 huge black eyes, and he was dead. Sounds like a pretty serious bodily injury to me. You're fucking dead. Okay? And it's like, again, No one ever said she ran him over. She was like, okay, he didn't have injuries as if he had been run over, because she didn't run him over. Maybe she tapped him. Maybe she bumped him. Maybe it scratched his arm and that flung him and he hit his head on the ground. Like, you don't know exactly what happened. A coroner on autopsy saying inconclusive is not proof that he didn't get hit by a car. And the ARCA witnesses who did admit she could have hit him, she could have nudged him, but you only want to focus on the part where they said, we don't think she did, it's highly unlikely, it's not probable, she could have, but you only want to focus on the part where they said, no, she didn't. So to me, it's like, okay, you have your opinion, and I'm looking at my evidence that I find believable, and I just don't see what you guys see. I don't see an innocent woman who's being framed by a whole bunch of people. I don't see it. I don't see the purpose. I don't see the motive. I don't see follow the money. Where's the money? I don't see a damn thing that makes me think that these unhinged pro Karen Reed cult-like members who don't seem to be actually using any critical thinking. That's what I'm saying. It's like watching the comments go by and the things that the people are complaining about, it's not adding up to me. It's like, she's a liar. What are you talking about? She's just sitting there answering questions. She's being asked questions. She's answering the questions. And then people are like, she's being so evasive. It's like, Alan Jackson is trying to make her seem like a liar. He's asking her a question, and then he's asking her the same question in 10 different ways to try to make it seem like she's lying somehow. And she's getting kind of annoyed. She's been dealing with this for years now, being accused of being a murderer when she fucking went with somebody who she wasn't even friends with. That's another thing. People are like, oh my God, what kind of friend is she? She wasn't a friend of Karen. She was a friend of John. So what kind of friend is she? She's a good friend. She's telling the truth. She's trying to clear, she's trying to get justice for John. This is my opinion. And I just think the chat is so creepy, so unhinged, so out there, so utterly unbelievable. And I don't know. I don't get it. My lunch is ready. I'm going to go. And I'll see you later. Bye. Okay. My vegan egg rolls and vegan samosas will be ready in a sec. So I just wanted to finish my thought and say, if you're interested in updates on the Karen Reed trial, you don't have time to sit and to listen to hours and hours of testimony for 8 weeks, and you want to hear somebody who's not drinking the Karen Reed cult Kool-Aid, and you want to get an objective opinion, like, look, somebody just commenting, Bev in bed with the prosecution, judges biased, angry face, 100, 100, 100, 100. How's Long suggests she knew start time of John falling. I think that might be anti-Karen Reed. Karen Reed is hot. Just reading a few of these comments. There's a ton of nonsense going on in these comments. She's entitled to a fair trial, but yet her defense is not playing fair. What if Karen Reed hit him, he's still alive, then the dog bites him, causing his death? Can the owner be charged with his death? You stupid fuck! This is what I'm saying. I cannot watch and listen to these people's comments. It's like, there was not a fucking fatal injury on his arm. You stupid fucking idiot. He had a fucking cracked skull and he was laying out in a blizzard. That's what I'm saying. I get so annoyed. Here's one. Exactly, in my opinion, I think there's too much speculation and these speculations are not adding up. Okay. She's a credible judge. She is fair. Completely out of line saying that Bev. Completely out of line saying, well, no, I think that one doesn't like Bev. I hate when they call her Bev. Her name is Judge Canoni, you fucking misogynistic turd. Anyway, join me.
So they're back on, and I'm listening. I'm listening to Alan Jackson cross-examine Jen McCabe.
And he's questioning her relentlessly about how many times did she check out the window to look for the car? How many times did she text them? Everybody was hanging out. There was music. It was festive. It was her nephew's birthday, and the friends were there, and they're hanging out and chilling, sitting around the table talking. And she's checking out the window a few times, and she saw the car, and then she saw the SUV, and then she saw the SUV move, and then she texted, "Park behind my car," because she said, "I thought maybe they didn't know, they were at the right house." And as Alan is questioning her about this relentlessly to try to make it seem like I don't know, that she's lying about it. Didn't he forget that they're supposed to be killing John? So all this time while he's pointing out about how she's looking at the car, and she's looking at here, and she's looking here and there. And this is supposed to be the time when John got into the house and then he's getting beat up. I just think it's kind of interesting. It's like he is really stretching out the fact that John never came into the house, and he's trying to prove that Jen is lying about that, and that actually he did come into the house. I don't know. It's just making me think so when were they all killing him? While she's texting and trying to find him? See if he's coming in or not? Doesn't add up.
So listening some more, and Alan Jackson is questioning Jen McCabe so extendedly about such minor details. How many times did you text? How many times did you look out the window? I mean, I get it. He's trying to establish.
How many times she looked out the window? How many times she texted? Did you look and see the body? And it's like people are in the chat like, there's no way that they didn't see the body. There's no way they didn't see the body. It was late at night. They had been drinking. It was after midnight. It was dark. It was a blizzard. It was cold. He was 50 feet away from the front door on the lawn where nobody, who would be looking over there? It's to me, it's so dumb that people are like, there's no way. They're acting like he was literally dead on their front lawn. I mean, he was on their front lawn. I meant to say on their front porch. And they were just walking over him, and they're like, no, we didn't see anything. The dude was 50 feet all the way over there where nobody had any reason to be looking. And somebody even said, oh, when they pulled out of the driveway, the headlights would have been right on the body. And I looked at the house, and I looked at the driveway, and I looked at the street. And that's not true at all. That's not true at all. If anything, the headlights from the car would have made him more in the shadow. But the other thing I wanted to add, just to finish this video off, is just that it's giving me the feeling the defense doesn't really have any real solid evidence. All they seem to be able to do is try to nitpick these tiny little details and try to differentiate, this tiny little difference. Did you go to the window 4 times or did you go to the window 5 times? Did you text him 4 times or did you text him 5 times? Did she say I hit him 3 times, or was it 4? And it's but all you're really doing it to me, if they had any real evidence, this is what I'm saying. Somebody's saying, jury loves Jen Jackson. You're batting 0. No, not being a bully will be frowned upon. Somebody else, LOL, she can't stop lying. Another person, he's a clown. point her to that part of the transcript and get her to see if she did or didn't say it. Then somebody says, maybe no one asked her. So my whole point is, like, if they really had evidence, you got evidence of blood on the lawn in front of the house, you got evidence of anything at all in the house, and so, like, they're trying to basically say that this big huge crime happened with all these people being involved somehow on some level, whether they were part of the violence and the murder or the cover-up or whatever. They all got their stories together. They all agreed to cover it up. And everything they're saying is lies. And they hid every single bit of evidence. And they only planted evidence to make Karen look guilty. But somehow they did a bad job of it because the evidence seems questionable. You know, people are like, how could they have not have seen the pieces of broken taillight? Well, if she had hit him at 12:30 at night and zoomed off, and then it snowed for 6, 7 hours, why do you think they wouldn't see the taillight pieces immediately? Because there was 1.5 feet of snow over it. Oh, could you fathom that? Why would they find taillight pieces over the next several days? Maybe the snow was melting. No, but people don't want to think about that. You're going to tell me that not a single neighbor noticed that a bunch of people were dragging a dead body outside? Now, somebody dropping somebody off and then going bonk, zooming off in the middle of the night at 12:30, where there's people in the house, they're playing music, and if it happened right at that moment, you know, I believe she was waiting for her friend, and she's looking out the window, and she's like, I saw you there, and then they said, and then she said, and then I looked, and then they were gone. And she was like, oh, I guess they're not coming in. Maybe they had a fight, and they decided to go home, or maybe, you know, they just got tired or whatever, but for whatever reason, they didn't come in. So she was waiting for them, and then they left. And she didn't see a dead body on the lawn. Like somebody else pointed out, it was Jen who called 911, not Karen. Jen was willing to go with her friend at 4 something in the morning because she's like, I don't know what's going on. She's panicking. I'm going to help her. And so Karen Reed calls Jen to get Jen out of bed to go drag her over, and yet somehow it's Jen who covered it up? How does that make any sense? Carrie Roberts, who had nothing to do with that night, whoa, my fucking phone. Carrie Roberts gets dragged in by Karen as well. So Karen calls Jen to drag her in, and by the time she gets back in touch with Karen a few minutes later, Carrie is already dragged in? Are you serious? But somehow Carrie and Jen are covering up a murder. What the fuck? People are so dumb. So empty-headed. Like, you just make no sense. It makes no sense. It is defense propaganda to confuse, and it's working. People are getting confused. People are believing these lies. I'm just like, the fact that people are willing to believe that 35, 45 people are lying, but they don't see this is one woman is lying. Like, I'm just so confused. I'm so confused. I'm not drinking the Karen cult Kool-Aid. I'm not seeing what the fuck you're seeing. I do not understand how people are believing that Jen is lying. Jen looks so credible to me. People are like, she's turning red. She's such a liar. Like, what are you talking about? What is she lying about? She has nothing to lie about. There's nothing for her to lie about. I mean, look, it makes me mad every time she looks at the jury. What the fuck, you stupid bitch? She's supposed to look at the jury. This is what I'm saying. This trial is so it's not the trial that's insane. It's like, okay, finally, Karen Reed is guilty. I mean, I just hope that the people on the jury are genuinely being objective and they're not reading stupid chats like this, because, I mean, my God, I just hope and pray that the truth does come out, whatever that is. Although every day of trial, every witness, every answer makes me feel more and more sure she hit that man and left him there to die. And whether she realized it at the moment that she hit him, or she realized it when she started waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and was having flashbacks of what happened, I don't know. That's my speculation. But I think she's going to be found guilty this time. I do. I think she's going to be found guilty this time. Unless something massive changes. They have a new expert, I think. So we'll see. But as of right now, I am leaning towards guilty. Minimum guilty of aggravated, DUI, vehicular manslaughter. Bare minimum, she's guilty of count 2. Hey, sweet peaches, just a quick pop in to say these are unpopular opinions, at least according to the chats in Emily D. Baker's chat, Law and Crimes chat, and Peter Tragos' chat regarding Karen Reed. But I have not drank the Karen Reed cult Kool-Aid. I'm not a pro Karen Reed cult person who just thinks that every single person in this case is lying except for Karen. I'm not finding that to be my opinion. I am still open to my opinion going one way or another. But at the moment, I watched the entire first trial. I have many videos that I did on it. At that time, I felt that I did feel that she had hit him with her vehicle, although I felt that there was reasonable doubt, and I definitely felt that they hadn't proved in any way to me that she did it on purpose. They did prove that she was an unhinged liar cheater, but they didn't make me feel sure. This time around, Brennan is doing a much better job, and although it's still the case in chief from the prosecution, at this point, I am definitely feeling more sure that she did hit him with her vehicle and left him there. Now, did she do it on purpose? That's still a big unknown. Did she know she did it and left him there on purpose? Still another big unknown. But I think they have gotten me, they've moved the needle a lot as far as me believing more that she did hit him with that SUV. And that's based on the cell phone never getting warmer after she dropped him off. And again, many people claim that the ARCA witnesses said that there's no way it's humanly possible that he could have been hit by an SUV, and that's not what they said. Andrew Rentschler did admit that she could have nudged him, which means hit him, so he admitted she could have done it. They said it didn't seem likely. They didn't think it happened. They thought it was much less likely, but it was a possibility. People also claim that his body obviously didn't have any significant signs of damage, but he had a cracked skull and he was dead. That's pretty fucking significant signs of damage, in my opinion. You're dead. You got a cracked skull and you're dead. That's the most significant damage a person can have. The fact that his body doesn't look like it was run over, probably because it wasn't run over. And how did it all happen? I don't know yet. I'm not 100% absolutely convinced that she's guilty, but I do believe she hit him with her vehicle. So this video is about 40 minutes or so of me talking my various thoughts in like 10-minute clips throughout the day. And these are my opinions, which I'm allowed to have, and so are you. Be critical in your thinking, not in your comments. Okay, bye.
Enjoy the video.
CatLoveDreamingPeach.com.
CatLoveDreamingPeach.com.
CatLoveDreamingPeach.com.